Hi, my name is Frank Corbin, and yes, I have another successful story for you today. This is what I do. I look at people's financial situation in the simplest form. I assess your financial situation. I see how much money you have, if any, and I take it all away. If you don't have any money, I show you how to get access to money, and when we then use that money and leverage it to making you a millionaire, buying millions of dollars worth of real estate. We're committed to real estate investing. We're not curious anymore, we're committed. And I teach people how to become committed in the same process, creating generational wealth for yourself and your family. I run a brokerage firm called REMIC Realty. We also have a mortgage firm called Ref 360. So we have in-house taking care of the real estate, the mortgage. We have our own private lawyers that we use, home inspectors, and everything you need as an investor to start, to expand, to create yourself a multi-million-dollar wealth estate. Here with me today is Eugene Kotorobai. How are you doing, Eugene?
Great, you?
Excellent, excellent. So what's going on with you, Eugene? Talk to me.
Well, just want to go around my background first.
Right, absolutely.
Was born in Moldova, immigrated to Canada when 92. Came to Canada when I was 10. Moved to Ottawa, moved to Toronto. Then played basketball, got a scholarship to New York.
Right.
And in New York, there was a lot of people that want a lot of nice things.
Right.
Everybody wants nice things, right? But working is not working.
Right.
Right? So you're always trying to see where you can accomplish better things and get better stuff, right? So I was, you become a hustler. You start hustling here,
Right.
hustling there. And, realized reading a couple of books that the best vehicle is, real estate.
Yes, of course.
It goes up and down. The rent's there.
Yeah.
So immigrated back to Canada, got married, moved back to Canada, and we were looking for our first house.
So how old were you when you started this process, looking for your first house?
28.
28.
At the time, 28, 29, 28, I believe. And me and my wife were talking about it. Let's get a house, basement apartment. We saw a couple of realtors, and we're going from there. And sitting at work one day, I was looking through pages, and REMIC Wealth Institute popped up.
Right.
And I looked at it. I said, "Hey, what do I got to lose, right?" So we went and we got started. After boot camp, I thought at boot camp I saw the best property ever.
Yes.
A penthouse in Mississauga, and it was like under 200,000.
Yeah.
And I was excited. I was like, "Let's go!" So we wanted to see that one, and then my wife was like, "No penthouse."
Right. She didn't want a condo. No penthouse.
She's like, "No, 23rd floor. No, I can't do it."
Too high for her. Yeah.
So we ended up buying a backsplit, and in the process of buying the backsplit, we saw another backsplit that we loved, but somebody came there before us. Right. And picked it up, so the integrity was there. First come, first serve, right? And before we closed in our first backsplit, you called me and said, "Hey, the deal fell through. You want it?"
That's right.
And I was like, "Hell yeah, I want it." And my wife was like, "No." So I remember it vividly. Was sitting in my truck, my dad's truck at the time, and we're doing a presentation for the second one. And my wife is in New York, and she's like, "You're not paying more than $535 for it. That's it."
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you're right, honey. You're right. And ended up that we paid $538.5.
You paid a little bit more.
I paid more, and I called her, and she's like, "Hey, what did I tell you? We got to stick to our guns, our budget."
Right.
And I was just like, "Well, we'll see what happens," right? And at that time, when I was 29, didn't know what I was doing, right? We were just buying houses like it was buying shoes, right? Trying to get this. So we closed off our first transaction. The second one was a little tougher because we were trying to get the 5%. And closed that off. And as soon as we closed that off, you presented another opportunity, a townhouse, and we got a great deal.
So you just on fire. You're going from one property to the next, to the next. Yeah.
Didn't know what I was doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was thinking, hey, this is fun, right? I'm taking all my money that I have, or lack of it, working my butt off, and borrowing money from my parents. My dad was going crazy at the time. I didn't understand what we were doing, and he was just like, "No, don't do it." And found another opportunity, townhouse. And after we closed our second transactions, we went to the townhouse. Right. And the deal with the townhouse was we got 0% interest for 3 years with the builder.
No way.
Yeah.
So 0 interest rate for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Wow. So again, look at it. On his third property, It's a brand new construction. The
Yes.
builder finance his property for 3 years, 0 interest rate. So that's a very, very good incentive to buy.
Oh yeah.
And
oh,
you
yeah.
can buy it on 5% down as well.
Correct.
Excellent.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
3
continue.
properties,
Uh-huh.
5% down. I was had a conversation with my dad because the third one, and he just couldn't understand how, you can buy 1, 2, and a third one, and somebody else can pay for it.
Right.
And me and him had like a verbal altercation.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was just upset, and he was just like, "Where are you gonna get this money from?" I said, "You know what? I have to beg, borrow, steal something.
We're gonna make it happen.
We gotta make it happen." Right? So, and the plan was to get my brother with me to move and pay like $500 a month rent.
Right.
So April comes, the closing comes, we close off the deal while the other ones are rented out.
Absolutely.
So I'm doing my finances and I got a surplus of about $2,000.
That's right.
And my townhouse is about $2,000.
Right.
So I'm living there for free.
So the 2 properties that you had rented out give you enough positive cash flow that your personal home that you're living in, you're pretty much using the positive cash flow to pay for your mortgage in your personal home.
Correct.
That's an amazing story.
Correct.
Go ahead, Eugene.
And then after that, my brother saw this, my dad saw this, and a year after, my parents were tenants.
Right.
They had a townhouse that they were homeowners before.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's a breadwinner, and he just works since he was like 16. He's 55 at that time, so he couldn't understand how he carried a mortgage of $1,800,
Right.
$2,000 every month, and now I have 3 properties, and I'm not carrying the mortgage.
Right.
All I'm doing is collecting rent.
So let me ask you, from the first property to the third property, what's the time frame you use to accomplish all those?
8 months.
8 months.
8 months.
Right. And you can give a rough estimate of value. You don't have to, but it's up to you, of all 3 combined.
The value was, when we purchased it 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
was about 1.4.
1.4 million, all 3 of them
1.4.
combined?
Yeah,
Right.
1.4.
Excellent. Excellent.
And
Yeah.
so back to my parents, I have 3. My parents are still tenants,
Right.
right? So I'm just like, hey, let's find you something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get you going also. And it was like a tug of war at first, and then it was just like, okay, finding something good.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, I went looking around, not the realtor at the time. I just went looking around.
Mm-hmm.
I found him a property. Once again, 0% interest with the builder.
Right.
Again.
So hey, that's a good builder.
Oh hell yeah! So found him a property, and they were paying $1,500 a month for their townhouse renting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So got him a semi-detached, 2,600 square feet, 4 stories. And how we looked for it, we divided the 2 stories downstairs and the 2 stories upstairs, so they can live upstairs without even seeing the people.
Right.
And downstairs was a split level.
Mm-hmm.
So I was renting out one of my units were vacant, and I brought a female in, and she loved it. She loved the unit. She loved it was brand new. It was big. It was spacious, and they got $1,200.
So the mortgage is about $2,000, right?
Yeah.
And again, $1,200 a month from the basement.
Yeah.
So about $800 plus or minus out of their pocket to carry that property.
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good leverage. That's what we call a hybrid property. So you live upstairs, you rent the basement. Sometimes the basement cover from 50 up to 60% of your mortgage payment, giving you a really good peace of mind experience living in your home.
Yeah.
So your parents bought property, you bought a bunch of property, and what's next for you?
Well, we just closed off a transaction last week, actually, for, how Toronto says the Toronto market is crazy.
Right.
It's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So we just closed off a transaction. It's 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, about 2,000 square feet, 3 levels, 2 balconies for $137,000.
No way. Not Toronto.
Toronto.
Not Toronto.
Toronto, $137,000.
So it's good that you mentioned that, 'cause people always think that you have to have lots of money or millions of dollars to afford Toronto real estate. And I tell everyone, Toronto real estate goes from anywhere from 25,000 to 25 million. You choose where you want to start, you choose where you want to end.
Exactly.
Right? So that's an amazing story. So what are you going to do with this townhouse now? So 5 bedroom, you're going to, I guess, you're going to do some renovation on it?
Yeah, we're going to do some renovations on it. And then we're going to put some tenants in there. And cash flow is amazing on that too.
Right.
Anywhere from $800 to $1,200
a month in positive cash flow.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Excellent. That's good stuff, Eugene.
So
Yeah.
that's what we do in
So let me,
REMIC.
is this a difficult process? Because people say that all this stories all sounds good, all sounds nice, sounds easy because you're sitting here talking about it.
Yeah.
But practicality, is it an easy process?
It's as easy as you want to make it to be. It's simple. people make it tough.
Right.
You know, the fear of purchasing a real estate transaction is what makes it tough. The stress, the sleepless night, and listen, nothing in life is easy.
Right, of course.
If it was easy, everybody would do it. You know, if $1 million were given out on the street, you know, the economy would be, you know, we'd be all millionaires. But
Right.
that's just not the way it works. So it's work, but you're working for yourself.
Of course, of course.
You know, like you say, push it. And you actually told me this, like, you don't know what you've done for yourself since we, you know, 29-year-old, 30-year-old kid at the time.
That's right.
You know, I want to come and kiss him because what he did was crazy.
Save a kiss for later.
I'm talking about myself. So yeah, that's you know, I understand now what I've accomplished. You know, at that time, no kids. Now we have 2 kids. You know, and we have 4 properties.
That's right.
And each child can have a property.
That's correct.
You know, you're trying to multiply, but I'm trying to purchase first and then have kids. You know.
No, do you understand? Because again, you're 29 years old, young kid, just married, not too much responsibility at the time or dependence at the time, and I'm here talking about generational wealth. You have no kids, no attachment as yet, and did you even understand what you getting yourself involved in?
No. We went to dinner with you, and you sat to me and said, "Hey, you don't understand what you've done," and I'm looking at you like a deer in headlights. I was like, I just purchased some houses.
Right.
I that's all I've done.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
and
more,
you're like, hey, you don't understand. Like the cash flow after 20 years, 25 years, when you pay that mortgage, that's yours.
That's right. Forever.
That's yours forever. Your kids, your grandkids. And to me, I was just like, hey, I found some tenants.
That's right.
Got some cash flow. Now I'm living for free. Great. I mean, now when you look back on it, and I'm in the business, and I teach this to people, and I show this to people.
Absolutely.
I have a couple of clients that bought because I've done all this stuff, and they're like, yeah, like you talk about living for free. I didn't understand that.
Oh yes.
they don't fathom how, you know, we talking about a ball and chain all the time, right? You get married, ball and chain. Yeah. But you should see that ball and chain when that mortgage comes and you're tight. Right. That's a real ball and chain.
That's right.
So if we can show you in REMIC how to eliminate that debt. That's right. Put somebody, you know, else paying for it. How free do you feel? How liberated would you feel?
On a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis.
Yeah. And as you said, in his mind was just a bunch of houses he's buying. Real estate is not just a bunch of houses. When you control real estate in any country, you owning land, you control the country, you control the direction of the country. You're giving yourself the opportunity to create generational wealth. Real estate in every country in the world went up in value over the last 20, 30 plus years. You have an opportunity to get on board, to get involved, to secure 1 or 2 properties. Eugene's sitting here amongst my other investors who become millionaires owning real estate. These guys are less than 1% of the whole country who need to do this stuff, okay? 1% of Canadians, even Americans the same way, would own their first home and a couple of investment property. So right off the bat, you're shifting your class, you're shifting your finances, you're shifting the direction of your kid's future. And it's pretty simple. It's not as hard as people think it is. Now Eugene, so you own a bunch of properties, you continue to buy more. Now you work with us at REMIC to help people do the same thing too. If you can give a simple advice to a person who's scared, who's watching this stuff, who's not sure what direction you should go in, what would you tell them?
Just call. We're everyday people. I'm an everyday person. You know, my dad owns a trucking company. I worked for him. Now I work for REMIC. Just because we work together doesn't mean we're alike, but we're also different. So one story does not have to do with the next, you know.
Exactly.
You came up with a different childhood and your adversities are different.
Right.
But we're all, you know, I started this 3 years ago, and the success I have with the equity alone in the house, it's like $500,000.
Right. So from 1.4, you're looking at close to $1.92 million is the current value of the properties.
Easy.
Right. So $500,000 in 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's all being leveraged in by the tenants, and you're creating success for yourself, your kids. And if the kids don't want it, don't worry about it. You have a lot of money for retirement.
You want to travel the world? Go travel the world.
You have enough money.
Yeah, you hear all these stories of people bought like 1998 when the market was going down.
Exactly.
They bought 16 plexes. I was just talking to a person yesterday, like the best thing they did was buy that 16-plex or that 3-plex for like $230,000. Now it's worth $1 million. You know, and the stories that, you know, you're gonna have discouraging people. Right. You're gonna have negativity. Like my dad was negative, but now he's my biggest fan. Right. Right. You're gonna have negative people that say, "Hey, listen, you don't want to deal with that. Right. Tenants are gonna break your house." Right.
That's everybody's story.
Yeah.
Who doesn't own any property?
Of course, they're all afraid. Yeah. But I just said, you know, the second property I was buying, I was talking to a mortgage broker. She's like, "Be careful. They're gonna break you." Right. I said, you know what? I hear all the bad stories. Right. You know, I'm focused on the get rich stories. Right. I'm focused on, hey, I got a 3-plex, I got a 10-plex, and I don't have to work no more. Right. I live in a 5,000 square foot house where somebody else is paying for it. Absolutely. I'm going 2-3 vacations a month. Right. You know, like my kids are going to private schools. That's the stories I'm focused on. I'm not focused on negative because there's so much negativity in the world. Of course. And you just get like that ball and chain. Everybody's just down on you. Negativity. Hey, listen, if you're afraid, everybody's afraid. You were afraid buying your first property. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody's afraid. Like we tell everyone, if you sit in front of us across the table and you're not scared, we're scared for you. Because if you're not scared, hey, you don't know what you're doing. You're about to make a very expensive purchase, change your financial situation. There's going to be some fear in there. And it's okay. Everyone goes through that process. As Eugene says, just call. My direct line, 647-237-3642. We're going to sit with you in a one-on-one consultation, absolutely free. Assess your finances. And as mentioned, our job is to take your money away from you. We're going to take it away from you and lock it up into real estate, minimizing your disposable income and your credit card spending of putting yourself in more and more liability debt. We can put you into asset debt where it gets leveraged and paid for by the tenant. Eugene, any last words for these folks? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's have a success story right beside me next time. Excellent. Sounds good. To your success. See you then.